Ampato. Ampato, possibly from Quechua hamp'atu or from Aymara jamp'atu, both meaning frog, is a dormant 6,288 meter, 20,630 feet, stratovolcano in the Andes of southern Peru. It lies about 70 to 75 kilometers, 43 to 47 miles, northwest of Arequipa and is part of a north-south chain that includes the volcanoes Hualca Hualca and Sabancaya, the last of which has been active in historical time. Ampato consists of 3 volcanic cones, which lie on top of an older eroded volcanic edifice. They were formed sequentially by extrusion of lava flows, but Ampato has also had explosive eruptions which have deposited ash, lapilli and pumice in the surrounding landscape. One young lava flow has been dated to 17,000 plus or minus 6,000 years before present, but a summit lava dome is even younger, and Holocene ash layers and surrounding peat bogs may testify to the occurrence of recent eruptions. The present-day volcano is covered by an ice cap, and during the last glacial maximum glaciers advanced to low altitudes. In 1995, an Inca mummy known as Mummy Juanita was discovered on Ampato by Johann Reinhardt. It had been offered as a human sacrifice more than 600 years earlier on the mountain. Geography and geomorphology. Ampato lies south of the Hualca Canyon and at the southern end of a chain of volcanoes formed by Hualca Hualca and Sabancaya, the last of which has been historically active. Clockwise from northeast the towns of Colihuri, Cajamarquena, Sauli, Japo, Bailoas, Corinta and Culpa surround the volcano. The city of Arequipa lies 70 to 75 kilometers, 43 to 47 miles, to the southeast. Ampato is part of the central volcanic zone of the Andes, which in Peru manifests itself as several dozen Pleistocene volcanoes, some of which erupted in historical time including El Misti, Huanaputina, Sabancaya, and Ubinas. The largest historical eruption of the Andes took place at Huanaputina. Other volcanoes in the Peruvian central volcanic zone are Sarasara, Salamana, Corpuna, Chacani, Tixani, Tutupaca, Ucumane, and Casiri. The volcano Ampato consists of 3 individual steep-sided cones which rise from a gentle glacially eroded foot. These 3 cones are lined up in southwest-northeast direction and the highest one reaches an elevation of 6,280 meters, 20,600 feet, or 6,288 meters, 20,630 feet. Ampato is one of the highest volcanoes in the central volcanic zone and the 35th highest summit in the Andes. The summit of the volcano is covered with an ice cap, and the edifice is incised by glacial valleys. The volcano is surrounded by 3 sets of moraines, the lowermost one at 4,250 to 4,450 meters, 13,940 to 14,600 feet. Elevation has been attributed to the last glacial maximum between 25,000 to 17,000 years ago, the middle one between 4,400 to 4,650 meters, 14,440 to 15,260 feet, to a late re-advance at the Pleistocene-Holocene epoch boundary and the higher ones above 4,800 meters, 15,700 feet, to Holocene advances. Geology. Off the western coast of South America, the Nazca Plate subducts beneath the South America Plate at a rate of 5 to 6 centimeters per year, 2.0 to 2.4 in/year. This subduction process is responsible for volcanism in the central volcanic zone and started during the Jurassic period after the opening of the southern Atlantic Ocean, which triggered the onset of subduction of the Nazca Plate. Volcanic arc-associated volcanism originally occurred within the Cordillera de la Costa in the Jurassic, but later it migrated resulting in the emplacement of the Tacasa and Tacuapala groups and finally the Neogene Barroso group. The present-day volcanic arc is situated in the area of the Barroso group but has a narrower extent. The basement beneath Ampato is formed by sedimentary and volcanic rocks of the western Cordillera of Peru, and the rocks are of Mesozoic to Cenozoic age. A high plateau formed by ignimbrites and lavas of Pliocene to Miocene age rises above this basement. The terrain is cut by several different fault systems. One of these, the northeastward striking Sepinal Fault, has been seismically active in the 20th and 21st centuries and seems to have controlled the development of the Ampato and Sabancaya volcanoes. Composition. Ampato has erupted different volcanic rocks at different stages, with the earliest ones generating andesite and dacite in which to find a potassium-rich suite. The rocks contain amphibole, biotite, iron oxide, olivine, plagioclase, pyroxene and titanium oxide. Processes such as fractional crystallization, Magma mixing and the absorption of crustal material by developing magmas have been invoked to explain the formation of the magmas of both Ampato and Sabancaya. Estimating the rate of magma production at Ampato is difficult owing to the uncertainties in determining the volume of the edifice and the duration of repose times between eruptions. On average, it appears to be 0.08 to 0.09 cubic kilometers per millennium, 0.019 to 0.022 cubic miles/ca. This rate does not consider spurt-like behavior. Volcano growth in fits and spurts has been observed at many other volcanic arc volcanoes. The rate is about 1 order of magnitude less than at neighboring Sabancaya volcano. Vegetation. The Western Cordillera features various climate zones, such as the Quechua and Suni zones. The vegetation that occurs at high altitudes is dominated by pioneer plants, with wetlands constituting additional centers of biodiversity. Eruptive history. A 200-600 meter, 660 to 1,970 feet, thick pile of andesitic lava flows with additional scoria on which crops out on the southern, southeastern and southwestern side of the Ampato volcano is the oldest volcanic stage of this volcano, with argon dating yielding ages between 400,000 to 450,000 years before present. Above this formation, another pile of dacitic lava flows constructed the first Ampato edifice, which was about the same size as the present-day volcano. This pile, Moldapampa stage, is about 200 to 300 meters, 660 to 980 feet, thick in outcrops and was in place between 230,000 to 200,000 years before present. After a pause in volcanic activity in an intermediary stage, the Anajaja stage, one date obtained on this stage is 77,000 plus or minus 4,000 years before present, that produced andesitic dacitic lava flows which form a 200-300 meter, 660 to 980 feet, thick unit on top of eroded remnants of the older Ampato volcanics. The andesitic northern cone formed as the first of the 3 present-day cones. The southern cone developed in several different stages. A first stage generated lava flows emanating from the summit. Dating of 2 such flows has produced ages of 34,000 plus or minus 8,000 and 40,000 plus or minus 3,000 years before present. More than 20 meters, 66 feet, of block and ash flows was erupted onto the eastern and western flanks of Ampato, and these flows consist of one andesitic and one dacitic formation. Both appear to relate to a lava dome forming stage of volcanic activity. These block and ash flows are themselves covered on both the eastern and the western flanks by more thick lava flows, which make up a 150 to 200 meters, 490 to 660 feet, thick unit and again consists of one andesitic and one dacitic unit. Both units appear to have been erupted during the last glacial maximum. Either during or before the last glacial maximum, Ampato erupted tephra during multiple explosive eruptions which today is preserved in 2 units, the Bailoas and the Currenta deposits. The first consists of lapilli, pumice and scoria, and individual layers form thick sequences at large distances from the volcano, but are heavily eroded and thus difficult to measure in extent. Scoria flows identified on the southwestern southern flanks of Ampato correspond to this unit. The dacitic Currenta deposits conversely were created during one large eruption which also left a crater on Ampato. It generated stratified 3-4 meter, 9.8 to 13.1 feet, thick tephra deposits which contain pumice embedded within ash-rich layers, and it is probably also the source of the pumice flow deposits on the south-southwestern flank. These contain dacitic pumice fragments in a matrix rich in ash and have thicknesses of more than 10 meters, 33 feet, in the few outcrops. Much of this unit was likely eroded away by glacial activity. The central cone grew in the gap between the northern and southern edifice and consists of lava flows again of andesitic to dacitic composition. These flows are together maximally 400 to 600 meters, 1,300 to 2,000 feet, thick, and one flow has been dated to 17,000 plus or minus 6,000 years before present. A dacitic summit lava dome is not affected by glacial erosion and appears to be the youngest eruption product of Ampato. Early Holocene, 11,000 to 8,000 years before present. Ash layers and peat bogs around the volcano may have originated either on Ampato or on Sabancaya. Late Holocene tephra layers dated to 1,790 plus or minus 110, 2,050 plus or minus 70 and 4,500 plus or minus 125 likewise may have been erupted from Ampato, but Sabancaya is a more likely source for these ash layers. Hazards. Presently, Ampato is considered to be a dormant volcano. Potential hazards from future eruptions at Ampato are lahars induced by melting of the ice cap and subplinian eruptions, considering the history of explosive eruptions at this volcano. The Peruvian Geological Service has published a hazard map that describes danger areas of both Ampato and Sabancaya. Hazards mapped include both the fall of ash and the formation of lahars, which can advance to distances of 20 kilometers, 12 miles, in the southerly valleys of Ampato. Pyroclastic fallout primarily threatens the vicinity of the volcano, but large eruptions can result in fallout over large areas around the volcanic complex. Human history. Further information, Mummy Juanita. A ceremonial platform was reported at elevations of 5,800 to 6,300 meters, 19,000 to 20,700 feet. Ampato was the site of human sacrifice during Inca times. Around 1466, the mummy Juanita was offered for sacrifice on the mountain, along with 2 other girls and a boy. The sacrifice took place on a platform on the summit of the volcano and was presumably intended to calm the mountain spirits during an eruption of the neighboring volcano Sabancaya. The mummies were discovered in 1995 by Johann Reinhardt and colleagues on the summit of the mountain. Such sacrifices, with children being the usual subjects, are known as capacoca, and the discoveries of their mummies on mountains in the Andes has gained them a lot of attention. The process served to tie the Inca Empire more closely together, since children to be sacrificed were selected from the entire realm and the children adorned and their names remembered after the sacrifice.